Hey guys, welcome to Everyday Fitness. My name is TJ, and usually this channel's primary focus is physical fitness to make sure that you're in shape to enjoy your hobbies, your lifestyle, swimming, mountain biking, kayaking, surfing. Today we're playing in the snow. We're gonna talk about winter prep for kayaking. What do you do with your gear? How should you take care of it? What do I do with my stuff in the off season? I'm not one of the guys that puts on the cold suits during those cold months. I'm not gonna be playing in cold water like that. So what do I do with my gear? I'm gonna show you, and we'll see if these kayaks can make decent sleds. So I've got 4 or 5 mobility exercises I want to show you. I want to talk about how I take care of my PDFs or life vest in the off season, what I do with my knives, my shoes, and my kayak and my paddles. This is just what I do with my gear. Just some tips and suggestions. As far as the fitness side of it, I always want to remind you, consult with your healthcare provider first before you start any new diet, nutrition, or exercise program. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, first up, I'm going to show you a few tips here. This is going to help keep your low back and your hips mobile during the off season. That's one of the most common things that people say, hey, this hurts. It's going to be your hips or your low back. Definitely go back and watch the previous video that I've done on whitewater fitness. It's a really good video, one of my favorite ones that I've actually made. So we're going to use these resistance bands. I don't want anything super heavy because this is just going to be mobility. If you're watching this video, you should already know how to roll a kayak back over. That means once the kayak is flipped upside down, how to get the breathing in back out of the water. If not, there's some amazing videos already out there. I'm not going to try to duplicate those. I might do a how-to video later, but there's fantastic videos out there. Just YouTube Eric Jackson, how to roll a kayak. I don't think you can do better than that. Whether you're doing a slice roll where you're reaching all the way around, or you're doing a C to C, which is mostly what I do, you're still using your low back and your hips. Your hips are a very, very important part of the roll. If you're not snapping your hips, you're not actually flipping the kayak right. You're flipping it at all. So what we're going to do is just get a little bit of resistance here, and I'm going to bend and snap. I'm just going to bend. It's going to be the same way. Everything I do to the left, I do to the right. So now you get a booty shot, and I'm basically just whoop, whoop. This also works your obliques too. So if you got some love handles going on and you want to tone those up, this is the way to do it. This next one, I'm going to lower my core. Nothing really different. I'm just lowering my center of gravity so that I can actually pivot my hips a little bit more. Again, I'm using very, very minimal resistance. I mean, legit, you could just do this without resistance if you wanted to. You don't really need resistance. This is just mobility exercises. Adding the resistance does help strengthen these muscles, but if you haven't done these type of movements before, maybe just do them without the resistance. So, a little bit of resistance here. We're gonna do the same thing here. If you do a C to C roll, you'll notice that this is basically your C to C roll. Another common part that hurts, sort of like on the outside of the hips. There's many ways to stretch this. I just recently started doing these. Apparently they're called bowling lunges or curtsy lunges. I'm gonna call them kayak lunges because I don't bowl and I don't curtsy. So square, knees sort of width apart, but you can take the first leg and go behind your other leg. Now you can kind of see one's kind of curtsy or bowling, and I'm going to squat. Now, this does put tension on this knee. So if you have knee issues, go slow, pay attention to what your body is telling you. Another way, if you wanted to turn this into a little stretch and then pivot your hips, now I'm actually doing a normal lunge. Go back, other side. Remember, we're always going to be symmetric. But as I'm doing these, I really feel a great stretch on this ham and on this outer thigh here. Okay, so I've just got 2 more exercises to show you, and then we'll talk about gear, which is probably why you started watching this video anyway. So, again with the low back stuff, there are 2 different ways of doing this exercise. Knees bent, which you've seen these before. A lot of these movements are the same. We're just doing them in different ways. This one I'm laying on my back, obviously. And then you straighten your legs. It makes it a little bit more of a challenge. In my 200-day workout, I call these metronomes because if you know anything about a musical metronome, it back and forth, it's kind of what your legs are doing. Some people call them wipers, whatever. I don't care what you call them, as long as you do them. Now, this one is a new exercise that I got from my little boy. He was laying on the floor, just doing this back and forth for whatever reason that little kids move around. And I was like, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna start doing that. And as I do these, I get a little bit longer stretch. So the stretch starts in my low back, but also kind of goes up towards my shoulder blades. And this is just the last movement I wanted to show you. Another great way to keep that low back moving in the off season. Now, let's head upstairs and check out the gear. My wife is pretty awesome. She gives me a few rooms of the house that I can keep my stuff in. So, certain things I like to keep: flats, fins are one of them. I move the camera a little bit better so you can see what's going on. Now, with these vests, these are made out of a tree fiber. Not all of the Astrals are, but this one is specifically. When you're done with them, you need to hang them up like this to let them dry. Don't scrunch them up in a tote. Throw them underneath the house or in the garage. It's not good for the fibers. Even my foam vests, I do the same thing. I don't smush them up until they're completely dry. Then I lay my foam vest flat. They're in the back tote here. This vest, the tree fiber kind, I always make sure they're completely dry before I even hang them actually in the closet. So this is actually my brother's vest. So Joshua, if you're watching this, yes, I take care of your vest very well. On the Brooks Brothers hanger. As far as the knives, I will take the knives, I always sharpen them on. I use a porcelain sharper and I oil them up, make sure there's no rust. Nothing like having a rusty blade. And we also do a lot of ocean surfing in our kayak, which is, to me, the most amazing thing to do in a kayak is surf a wave in the ocean. But of course, salt is not really good for everything, especially some of these knives. Even these NRS knives, they're great. But they still will get a little bit of surface rust on them. Some oil, a little bit of touch up with some porcelain, you'll be just fine. Shoes, I don't really have to tell you how to take care of shoes. Make sure they're clean. Don't leave that dirt, creek, sand, tiny little rocks that get in there. Don't leave that in there over the winter. Especially first day of the season, you want to head back out and you throw those shoes on and you get poked with a rock. I just like to be able to just go. I've got these bags already prepped with different gear, so if I know I'm going to the river, I can grab this bag. If I'm going to the mountains, I can grab that bag. At the end of the season, I'll take a big tote, fill it full of water, put just a little bit of bleach in there, dunk all of my helmets, my wet shirts, and I will just soak them down for a little bit, bring them back up, and I will rinse them thoroughly. I want to go ahead and kill any bacteria that's on these things. You keep them stored up for a while, you bring them back out, they might smell a little musty. When you're on the river, no one knows, and no one really cares, but that's, again, this is what I do. I've got most of my neoprene and my other PDFs in the back of this closet in a tote. Now, I'll probably mention this several times. I hate squirrels. They find their way into houses, especially to little attic spaces like this. They'll eat their way through into a house. My brother-in-law's got this beautiful cabin, and the little squirrels have chewed their way into it, and they're just making themselves a home by eating all of the stuff. So inspect your stuff. And frequently, once a week, once a month, make sure that a squirrel hasn't found its way into your house, into your garage, into your shed, and is eating your $300 life vest, because they totally will. I've had them eat a surfboard in half. So yeah, so here's my my skirts. Well, that one's not rolled up. They usually are rolled up. So here's my foam vest. This one I lay flat back here in the tote. Really have a hard time damaging this foam. Again, same thing with this knife. At the end of the season, I cleaned it, put some little bit of oil on it, and made sure there was no surface rust at all. Make sure your squirrels, your rats, rodents, whatever it is not making its home out of your expensive whitewater gear. This might save you money and a headache at the beginning of the season when you're ready to go to the river and you can't because the strap of your helmet's chewed through and your life vest has a hole through it. I've seen it happen. It's not cool. As far as the paddle, I mean, do what you want. I just like to rotate my stuff. Same with the boat. I'll flip it back and forth. With the paddle, this one isn't mine, it's my wife's. It's a weird offset paddle. I'm one of the weird people that actually like a flat paddle. But a few weeks on this side, a few weeks on that blade. I just Same with the workouts. I want everything to be symmetric. I don't want to have a giant bicep on this side, tiny bicep on this side. I like to hang mine from the ceiling. Gives me more room in my garage and not sitting down on the floor where my little fat lazy cat who gets his heated bed, he'll like to get into them and then the hair's all over the seat. But hanging them from the ceiling, animals, creatures can still get in there, but it's less likely, obvious reasons. But I hang them from these straps and I like to rotate it every month or so. I rotate it to keep the tension from pressing on one side more than the other. If you buy a new boat every single year, then that doesn't really matter. But if you're like me, I'm going to use this boat until it falls apart. I hang them from the ceiling. That's what I do. I have this strap to keep the two hanging straps from sliding apart, which I don't think is very likely. And that's all I've got. It's a pretty straightforward video. Basically, just keep an eye on your stuff and keep moving. In my opinion, fitness is pretty simple. Move more, don't eat garbage, take care of your stuff. Subscription is free. Subscribe, it's the best way to make sure that you don't miss any videos. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, of course, and Instagram. Again, I've got some great kayak workout videos and some other gear videos where I do a comparison videos on most common PDF knives. And I do a comparison video again about those shoes that I was talking about. Thank you guys so much for watching. You're awesome. Keep up the good work.